Good evening, America. Hello, Chicago, and what's up, West Side? This is P. Ray of Black Excellence Hour, a show for people with high self-esteem. You could have been doing anything on this chilly Sunday evening, and you chose to come hang with me today at Black Excellence Hour. And as always, I truly appreciate the company. If you are watching live on X at Chicago Red P, if you are watching live on Facebook, and that could be on the Black Excellence Hours Facebook page or on the Intellectual Radio's YouTube page. Be sure to share the live. Share the live today. In studio, I have Mr. Dennis White. Dennis, greet the people for me.
Hello, everybody in Chicago.
All right, all right. We're gonna get to Dennis in a moment. This week has been quite a wild week, but today's show is entitled "Victory is Here," and the reason that victory is here is because as of showtime, the Chicago City Council or the mayor of Chicago has stated that they have removed the property tax levy from the budget. So that means all the fighting and fussing and carrying on that we had to do worked because the property taxes are not going to be on the menu. And that, friends, is a wonderful thing. It is a marvelous thing, especially because we understand that we are not going to pay this money for these illegals. I mean, period. Period. If we got some money to spend, I promise you it will not be on them. But before we get to all of that, we are going to get a dose of self esteem from the greatest president to ever do it. And not say greatest, I mean by far the greatest. Okay. People think, oh, P. Ray, you just like Donald Trump. But no, in real life, check the stats. This is the actually must be the president right now because everybody is coming to see him and kiss the ring. Trudeau has been here. Homeboy from Canada came. He invited the man from from China, excuse me, to the inauguration. The Chinese president was invited to the inauguration. We've had meetings with the Mexican president. You name it, everybody's trying to get back in this man's good graces. This man is Donald John Trump Sr., the 45th and 47th president. Roll tape.
African Americans built this nation. We built this nation. You know, you're just starting to get real credit for that. Okay, I don't know if you know that. You're just starting to get, you built the nation. We all built it, but you were such a massive part of it. Bigger than you were given credit for. Does that make sense? Right? But through generations of blood, sweat, and tears, and you deserve a government that defends your interests, protects your families, and cares for our own citizens first. My administration is fighting with everyone and all our heart to reverse the pain inflicted by Democrat leaders and to deliver hope and opportunity and prosperity for all Americans, but for African American communities all throughout our land. And our agenda is lifting all throughout our land. And our agenda is lifting up citizens of every background, race, religion, color, and creed. But while we are fighting every day to build up our nation, the far left only wants to wreck, ruin, and destroy our nation.
All right, all right, all right. Again, that was Donald John Trump Sr., the 45th, soon to be 45th president, telling us exactly who we are in this country. He said African Americans. P. Ray says Negro because we are specifically talking about the Negro people. Before we go any further, I want to share something with you all. This week, I had the opportunity to go back on Fox News. Fox News has really been eating up P. Ray. I went on, they first me last week. Not this week that just passed, week before last. I was on there 4 times. Last week I was on there twice. They put me on Fox News at night, and then they put me on with Sandra Smith in the evening. On that, in the afternoon, at about noon or so. On that show, first I'll shout out to Miss Debbie because Miss Debbie beat my face to the gods, y'all. Oh my God, I was like all the way together. Shout out to Miss Debbie from the South Side of Chicago who works for Fox News. She hooked me up. However, they asked me about the Tom Homan event. As I share with you guys, Tom Homan came here to the city of Chicago and met with the people, including myself. And now he said that Chicago is going to be targeted for the migrant crackdown. This was my response on Fox News. Roll tape. And we're calling ICE. That number is 866-DHS2-ICE. See something and say something today because ICE and the federal government is going to come solve this problem that our local Democrats refuse to do anything about. I don't know if you could hear that, but what I said is that we are going to take full advantage of the resources of the federal government. And here in the city of Chicago, we are calling ICE. That number is 866-DHS2-ICE. See something and say something today because we need the federal government to come here to get control because our local Democrat government refuses to do anything. This is a real thing, y'all. Do not think that this is a game. There's also a video floating around social media of a woman. Her grandmother lives in K-Town on the west side of Chicago in the Garfield Park neighborhood. She said that she got a call from her neighbors and they said, girl, you need to come over here today because it's some craziness happening at your grandmother's house. When she got there, I kid you not, it was about 20 migrants in her grandma's yard and on her porch. They called the Chicago Police Department, but because of the Safety Act, trespassing is no longer an arrestable offense. So when the police arrived, they could not technically, make the people leave. And so they, did what they could and then they left. The girl and her family and the people from the community had to go and make them get out of their yard. And in this video, you can see this big old like group of people just kind of meandering out of their yard, like wrapped in blankets and stuff. She said they pulled up with cars and vans. And this is how all of these people came out. So I'm saying that to say, be sure to lock your doors. Lock your doors and
get a gun.
Be armed. Get armed. Take the 16-hour class and do what you have to do. Speaking of doing what you got to do, I want to give a shout out to the good people over by where I live at. And this is in the 37th Ward. They said that a man robbed a McDonald's customer at gunpoint on the west side, and he was hospitalized after the restaurant's patrons ganged up on him and beat him until the Chicago Police Department arrived. This happened at the McDonald's. Clap it up for the people on Chicago Avenue and Laramie. You will not go in that McDonald's and act a fool. No, you will not. It's actually a black McDonald's, and it has all of this African artwork around it. It's really, really nice. When I was a little girl, it even had a play place. So anyway, I digress. This happened. So he actually went in there and robbed the man twice. They said this was a 46-year-old man. The first time it was on November 13th. He went into the restaurant and demanded the man's property while showing a gun on his waistband. Then he pistol whipped the man and made him take off his pants before taking the man's phone, wallet, and $500 worth of cash. Then on 10 days later, on November 23rd, he went back to the McDonald's, pointed a gun at the same man and took his money. But then that time, the robber was tackled, held down on the floor, and beaten by unknown bystanders until the police came. They said when the police got there, Johnson was laying face down on the floor with a crowd of individuals holding down and kicking him about the head. Then, Lord have mercy. Wow. Then they said that when they got there, the police recovered a firearm and an extended magazine from the robber and dispersed the crowd to prevent the offender from sustaining further injuries. Then Johnson, who was bleeding from the mouth and the head, complained of abdominal pain and went to Mount Sinai Hospital in fair condition. I bet when he got to the county, he said, dang, Lord, man. I keep telling y'all, we do not accept bullying on the west side of Chicago. We do not accept it. Now, if you want to rob the man the first time, okay, you took off his pants, took his phone, took his wallet. The second time you want to come up there and bully this man again, obviously, this is a man that's often at this McDonald's, which is in the neighborhood. Everybody knows everybody else. So this time when the robber came back, the victim had something waiting on him, and that was a group of bully slayers. We slay bullies. We do not like bullying at all. So again, shout out to all the good people on Chicago Avenue and Laramie who took care of that business, and now the man is in jail. Whew. Lord have mercy. Lord have mercy.
So they gave him some pound cake.
They gave him some pound cake. They definitely put those paws on that man because that's what he needed. I mean, obviously, if you want to just keep on fighting people and jumping on them and stuff, I digress. Moving on, I want to also say happy Bill of Rights Day to everybody. December 15th is Bill of Rights Day, and this is the day where we commemorate the ratification of the first 10 amendments of our Constitution, and those safeguard the freedoms and liberties of the American people. So shout out to the founding fathers for getting all of this together, this wonderful country. However, it has definitely been scandalized. And when I say scandalized, I mean this. First things first, I want y'all to listen to y'all president tell this lie. He said with a straight face that he ran a scandal-free campaign. Listen to Jim Crow Joe lie. Roll tape.
We run a campaign that's basically scandal-free. It's hard to do in American politics these days.
So he said he ran a scandal-free campaign. We know that it was full of scandal and deceit, which is how we ended up with Kamala. But I don't know if actually, let's talk about a scandal that Jim Crow Joe did, and then we're going to talk about Kamala. Jim Crow Joe has been playing this lawfare game against Donald Trump for years. And part of the lawfare campaign was this Georgia case. Now, as I shared with you guys before, I have a girlfriend who is on that Georgia indictment, Miss Trevian Cootie. That's my girl. So she had been telling me this entire time that all of this was a farce, that Fani Willis was going to be disbarred and punished, that this was all collusion from the White House with Jim Crow Joe trying to make my Donnie look bad so that the American people would not elect him. Well, friends, it was true. Trevian might tell a joke, but she will not tell a lie. She called me and she said, girl, check my Twitter page tomorrow morning, and it's going to be a bombshell that's going to break the internet. Well, the internet did break, and what they found out is that Nathan Wade admitted to colluding with the White House to prosecute Donald Trump in Georgia. Let's listen to this. Roll tape.
Prosecutor in the Trump election meddling case testifies before the House Judiciary Committee. That's Nathan Wade. And he admitted he met with White House staff on several occasions while working on the investigation that was led by Fulton County DA Fani Willis. He also says he had to brush up on his knowledge of racketeering law.
So not only were they colluding with the White House, but he wasn't even qualified to prosecute a RICO, which takes us back to the issue of her paying her boyfriend taxpayer dollars that were supposed to be given to the Fulton County Prosecutor's Office to hire more prosecutors to catch them up from their COVID backlog. That means that Americans down in Georgia were waiting on justice because Fani was trying to put some money in her man's pocket. And they were doing this in lockstep with Jim Crow Joe. I only report the news. Moving on. Because again, it's scandalous and we got to get to Brandon. If you want to join the call queue, 773-345-9977. We are almost there to talk about what we were able to win in City Hall. Moving on. Kamala said that she is not going quietly in the dark. So y'all, check this out. Kamala Harris has to certify Donald Trump as the winner because she is the vice president. So she is literally the one who has to, make all of this happen as the vice president. Remember, they were saying that he wanted Pence to not certify Biden. Well, now Kamala has to certify Trump. And so she's not feeling this at all. And so they're trying to figure out what she's going to do. And they're coming up with a plan. And they're trying to run her as governor of California. Check this out. Roll tape.
Likelihood is of Harris running for governor. What she's been saying to people over the last couple of weeks, donors, other supporters that she's been talking with, is you haven't seen the last of me. I'm not going quietly into the night. Advisors, people close to her, are debating about what that means. They do not want her final official act ever to be essentially certifying Donald Trump's win over her, especially 4 years after January 6th. And so they look at this governor's race in California in 2026, and it seems to them like a layup, essentially, that she would probably clear the field, or mostly clear the field, and she would get to be governor of California. It's a pretty good job, right? It was good enough for Ronald Reagan and Arnold Schwarzenegger, Jerry Brown. But if she does that, that means that she couldn't turn around and run for president again in 2028, right? She'd need to essentially declare right away. And that is what it really comes down to, because there are people close to her who say she didn't get a fair shot this year. It wasn't up to what she could have done, and look how well she performed anyway. She should get to go again in 2028. And then there are ones who say, look, with where things are with the Democratic Party, she would not have a clear field, a cleared field, rather, in the Democratic primary, and could lose the nomination. And to come off of 2024 into that would be really terrible.
So Kamala is going to be running for governor because they don't know if she could win for president again. Hey, Dennis, if she runs for governor, California's going to get a Republican governor.
Go ahead, Kamala. Run, Kamala, run. So the Republican could get California, and maybe the people could get what they deserve. Some sanity. Don't run the state.
Yes, run, Kamala, run. Run, Kamala, run. We want Kamala to run for governor of the great state of California 2026. Kamala 26 for California. You with me?
I'm down with that.
Let's get it.
Yeah, go ahead, Kamala. Just go ahead and run, because we already laughing at you at the federal election that you lost by a landslide. So now you're going to lose by a bigger landslide in the governor race. So go ahead on and run. You're a failed politicians anyway.
Let California turn red, just like Chicago is turning red. Which brings me to my guest today, Mr. Dennis White, who was actually at City Hall this week on Friday when they tried to do the vote for the budget. Now, we know that vote, it was a whole lot of rigmarole with it. Initially, they tried to move it back an hour, and then they were saying it was canceled. When you were at City Hall, what happened?
Well, what happened was the meeting started about 30 to 45 minutes behind schedule. Okay, so Brendan Johnson came in. They was going to do a vote. Then Alderman Jason Irvin requested a recess during via roll call. So all of a sudden it was three Antifa there at the same time. So
Antifa?
Yes. So what happened was, when they was doing the roll call, it was being disrupted by the three groups of Antifa. So some slur was going back and forth.
Slurs?
Yeah.
What kind of slurs?
Like one called Miss Jessica Jackson, he called her a MAGA. And they, that's when all hell broke loose. So,
like a MAGA person?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just chaotic there. And then the police finally escorted them and they arrested them. So they're going to spend the weekend at the county. So after that, the group of people who really want the vote Brendan Johnson didn't have enough votes, because he need 26 to have that budget passed. And here's the people that wanted that budget passed. And here's the aldermen: Daniel LaSpada, Pat Dowell, Lamont Robinson, Desmond Yancey, William Hall, Gregory Mitchell, Michelle Harris, Julia Ramirez, David Moore, Mike Rodriguez, Byron Cinco Lopez. We all know about him. I've never seen a Mexican who's a Palestinian at the same time. Walter Burnett, he's the one who say that there's some money, we could pass this $64 million budget.
Well, you know this because he getting paid like $400,000.
And so is Byron Cinco Lopez, because if this budget would have passed, that would bump their salary up.
Well, we'll get to that. Go ahead.
So here's Jason Irvin. He's the one who asked for the recess for Monday. Chris Talonfaro, Rosanna Rodriguez, Carlos Ramirez Rosa, Andrea Vasquez, and Maria Haddon. These are the people who want that $64 million pass anyway. So Alderman Raymond Lopez, big shout out to him. He requested for a point of order. So when you do a point of order, that point of order need to be recognized.
Right. Everything should stop.
Everything should stop. The mayor, Brandon Johnson, did not even recognize Alderman Lopez point of order. Not only that, but the public did not speak. You're supposed to do a public speaking even before you do a roll call vote. So he didn't do none of those things. Then they adjourned the meeting. That's when chaos started. Everybody was screaming at Brandon Johnson. Everybody was screaming at Byron Cinco Lopez. They was screaming at Michelle Harris. It was a lot of chaos and stuff that was going on. And I believe that the reason why that he didn't get the vote is because he got cronies of the CTU working under his administration. The other half is going to the illegals. So the question is this: if when January come, it's not here fast enough for the both of us. If January would have came, they will still have to redo the budget.
Correct.
Because that would freeze up or stop the money flowing to the illegals.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the question that need to be done. So that's what happened Friday. So now they're going to do a vote Monday. So now they took the $64 million all of a sudden off the table, but Brandon Johnson wanted to do a $40 million loan.
Correct.
So that means no matter what, that's not my satisfaction. I don't think it's your satisfaction. I don't think it's for the city of Chicago, the people of the city of Chicago satisfaction. So I encourage all the aldermen, don't vote for this because it's still going to come out of our pockets. Who want to pay a 10-cent plastic bag, taxing taxing Netflix, just streaming to Netflix. I don't watch Netflix anyway. But nevertheless, and then you got to add more taxes for the share ride driver, not only from 5 days a week, but 7 days a week. That's what his whole plan were. So it's like I've still encouraged the people, including Alderman Lopez, to vote no. That is not good enough for us.
Well, again, we're getting all of this stuff because we're going to continue to fund the illegals. But it's deeper than the illegals, as you said, because Ray Lopez has been talking about the issue of the funding for a while on his Twitter page. And he said, this is what they're saying instead of the property taxes. They're going to take out a $40 million loan from a 30-year line of credit. Then they're going to base $10 million on $10 million on revenue based on the law that has not even been written yet. And they're going to cut 25 vacancies across the departments. They're also saying that Walter Burnett has 3 sets of staff. Actually, he's the highest paid person in the entire city council. His whole situation is like $400 million because he gets a salary plus an additional salary as the vice mayor. And again, I'm getting this all straight from the people who are working in the city council. They said that, for instance, Walter Burnett again has 3 sets of staff. The first staff is his automatic staff, and that's $309,000. Then he gets a committee zone staff for $367,000, and those people are still made up of Carlos Rosa's people, because remember, Carlos lost his position for manhandling my alderman and assaulting her at her job and making her feel like she was back in the South. Miss Emma Mintz, remember that. Carlos, this guy, all of his people are still working, and they're getting $367,000. Then the office of the vice mayor gets $422,000, and that office didn't even exist before this year. Why does the vice mayor need an office?
Same reason why I don't understand why his Brandon Johnson's wife got an office and we paying what, $80,000 for it?
Well, they paid $80,000 to redo it
out of taxpayer money.
Correct.
Okay, so that's still Brandon Johnson need to be investigated. He need to be investigated because all this mishandling of not only the taxpayer money but the campaign money that he used on his personal
Stuff
use.
himself, his hair
Yes,
and makeup.
his that cheap hair and makeup. Now, I'm gonna say something about this here. I hope the DOJ come after Brandon Johnson real hard because when I was there at City Hall, I told him Pam Bundy, Cash Patel, audit, investigated, indicted, orange jumpsuit. And believe me, when you wear that orange, when Brandon Johnson wear that orange jumpsuit, the baby oil effect going to hit him. So now we're going to call him Baby Oil Brandon.
Oh Lord, have
So,
mercy.
so my thing right here, not only that, but we as black people got to be very careful who to vote for in future election. We got
Whoever is
to.
calling the show, you got to call us at 773-345-9977. Sorry, because the phone clicked. Go ahead. You might as well hang up. I can't answer you. Go ahead, Dennis.
So that's one thing we got to be very careful who we vote for because look what happened with Lori Lightfoot. She didn't do nothing during the COVID season, and now we got to deal with Brandon Johnson for the next 3.5 years.
Yeah, it's like 2.5 years.
2.5 years. We got to deal with him for the next 2.5 years. So we got to be very careful who we vote for, and we got to understand where our agenda is. Just like Jason Irvin, he was mocking the voters, talking about everything gonna be all right. He was walking around like with that big old suit, like he's Biggie Small and stuff. So, that's what happened right offhand. And he just like to antagonize people too. Jason Irvin.
Well, he's a bully.
Said he's a bully. That is true. And he need the whatever ward he's representing.
The 28th.
The 28th. I really urge you all to vote him out during the next election. Byron Cinco Lopez need to be voted out. All these people who are listing that want that $64 million tax hike need to be voted out and stuff. Vote some people who got common sense and know how to help the city, and it might help you out right offhand. Not only that, but we also need to go after J.B. Pritzker because he's doing so much crazy insanity thing by signing the PICA Act, signing the Safety Act, signing the bill that 10-year-olds could
get abortions.
Get abortion without parents' permission. First of all, no 10-year-old should be having sex anyway. That should never.
I'm just saying, then that's a rape. So to have the evidence of a rape
charge, yeah, that's a rape charge and stuff. So that's a lot of things that need to be done here, and Illinois need to be cleaned up very badly. You can have the supermajority that are Democrats that got both the House, the Senate, and every year they vote the same, different people under the same policy, which equal the bad policy. Now, here's the thing: during the Jim Thompson administration, it was Illinois used to have been red. Then the Democrats decided to go to the Illinois Supreme Court and redistrict all the counties so it could stay blue. That's why Illinois been blue for the past 40, almost 50 years right now. So, if anything, we got to attack the Democrats during the next election. So we need to go to the Illinois Republican Party and see who we could get as a candidate, and then help them during the debates, during the campaigns right there. We got to go and attack and clean Springfield up because Springfield is a disaster
I totally agree.
when it comes to policy. So if we could clean up Chicago, we could clean up Springfield because you got to remember, Trump only had 45%
correct
during the election, and he only got 37% in the city of Chicago. And that was black voters, Ralph. So Illinois can turn red. Chicago could turn red too.
I think we there. 773-345-9977. Let's take a caller. Caller, welcome to Black Excellence Hour.
Hey, what's going on, guys? What's going on, Dennis, T. Ray?
How you doing?
Thank you guys for having me on the show.
You're welcome. Welcome.
This is the Chicago Conservative, and I just got a question for P. Ray. So how do you feel about Brandon Johnson's new budget plan? Because I don't think I caught it specifically what you said.
So what he wants to do is he wants to get a $40 million line of credit from an existing line of credit. He wants to add $10 million to based on a law that hasn't been written, and then he wants to cut jobs. That's cool. That's cool, but at the same time, cut the spending for the illegals. I don't understand why this is not priority number one. Do you know that I went to City Hall the day after the election and I told them this in the budget meeting? I said, before we go any further, get your pens and just draw lines through any migrant spending because they are going to go home. Because ICE has its own budget to deal with this. ICE has $25 million. So if you remove the sanctuary city ordinance so that CPD can work with ICE and remove them from the budget, everything will be fine. We can kind of get our way back to where we were. But you all are playing all these games, having people come down here, push out all this energy when you know that policy drives the budget and y'all not talking about changing policies. Even with the office of the vice mayor, like I said, the vice mayor gets $400,000. Okay, honestly, with his salary and the budget of the office of the mayor, that's $500,000 going to one person at City Hall. For what? We don't need an office of a vice mayor in the city of Chicago. We've been doing it for years. You see, these are the types of things. Money. I'm sorry?
No, I was saying, yeah, that's just wasted money.
It's wasted money. It's wasted time. And I think that they're playing with us because our issue was property taxes. And so we were saying, we don't want property taxes. We don't want property taxes. And so they said, okay, then we won't give you property taxes. We'll give you something else. And here we are. But we have to be very clear in our messaging that we want all migrant spending eliminated from the budget in Chicago. That has to be our new call because when we said no property taxes, he took them away, but they're still going to spend the money on the migrants. We want to defund the migrants. Oh, there we go. Defund the migrants. That's the movement.
Absolutely, because I feel like it was so much unnecessary spending on these illegals when it came to Chicago, especially Brandon Johnson doubling down on trying to protect these illegals. Now, honestly, I wouldn't mess with Tom Homan. So Brandon Johnson has to be an idiot to, feel like he can go up against this man. Now, I agree with you 100%. Anything that's funding illegals, cross it out because they're not going to be here. So why are we still acting like this is going to be a thing? Tom Homan already said Chicago is his first stop. So I don't know if Brandon Johnson has a, plan when it comes to these illegals. And, J.B. Pritzker, too. These people are complete clowns. And I agree with Dennis so much when it came to him saying that we have to vote different. We got to stop voting blue, guys. Like, this is getting really, really bad. We've been voting Democrat in Chicago, and it's like all of the Democratic mayors that I've seen in my lifetime, they sucked. So just repeating the same thing over and over again, just expecting a different result, you're literally by textbook definition insane, guys. We really have to start, watching who we put in these chairs, especially you got people like William Hall, because I was at City Hall as well. He was actually laughing at the people of Chicago. Like, this dude is an absolute fool.
What do you mean laughing?
So,
he was smirking.
I guess
he was smirking at.
So I guess after Irving had called for a recess, he was basically laughing because the people didn't get a chance to speak that day, and I found it very disrespectful.
These people, again, I think that no one thought that it was going to catch on like this. And now that it's caught on like this, they don't know what to do. They don't know what to say. This is shocking America. Okay, it's not just crazy on LaSalle, or it doesn't just look crazy to us because we're in Chicago. People in New York, Atlanta, Texas, Kansas City, California, Montana, Nebraska, Oregon State, all of these people are like, yo, Chicago is pissed. They are really, and so these aldermen don't know what to do or what to say. So here we are, and they're playing these games. I think that, again, we got to center the messaging. The messaging all the way got to be defund the illegals, because that's what we want, because we asked for them not to raise the property taxes, and look, they eliminated it. So now they're saying, so what else do they have to complain about?
Mm-hmm. I want to add on to it. Now, I'm trying my best not to advocate violence, but sometimes you got to use violence to send a clear message, especially
Black Excellence Hours does not condone
I'm
violence in
separate.
any way.
My speaking is separated from Black Excellence Hours. This is Dennis White saying this. Okay. So here's the thing. If they refuse and they try to resist, sometimes you gotta fight violence with violence.
So what you gonna do?
Peace if possible, violence when necessary.
What that mean?
Well, sometimes a dead offender is better than a repeat offender. So that's how you freeze. That's how the tax could be loosened up.
Well, we don't want to give the person, we don't want to rob the person a chance of rehabilitation. You know what I'm saying? So
Black Excellence Hour does not endorse violence in any way. Go ahead, Vashawn.
But yeah, it's my message, so I improve it.
Yeah, I believe in a person to have their Second Amendment. Don't get me wrong, but we don't want to assume everybody is bad, even though majority of the illegals that are coming into our country is bringing drugs, crime, trafficking children, and so forth.
Well,
but
I want to. So this is why we got to fight them all. This is why I was actually talking to two people today about this. And before I say this, I have to say this while this is on my brain. I want to publicly apologize to T.O. Hardiman because I spoke out of turn about the violence interrupters. I was not talking about the violence interrupters in the conversation that I had with Miss Red Velvet and Miss Chocolate Sunshine Jamaica. That is not what I was doing because they asked me about the non-violence people. And I said a lot of times those guys are getting paid stipends and not taxes. So that's not going back to the tax base. But violence interrupters, T.O. Hardiman's organization does take taxes out of their people's checks and they do good work. So my most sincere apologies to T.O. Hardiman. I digress. The reason I'm bringing all of this up is because as I got a call about that today, I was talking to someone about the drugs. The children are passing away of the drugs. So one of the women who interviewed me, her daughter died last year of a fentanyl overdose, and her daughter was hooked on crack cocaine, and she was 19 years old. Then I had some people who I know, that's why I said crack. She said crack. They out here on crack. And I had a friend who went into a local high school, and he said that the high school was empty because a lot of children don't go there. But beyond that, the children who were there, a lot of them are walking like zombies because they are on these pills. And so the pills that they're bringing in and the fentanyl that they're bringing in, all of that is coming through the southern border. And these people are bringing it up here to Chicago. So we can't say, oh, everybody's not bad, because if you are associated with the group of people who are bringing fentanyl to our children, you're definitely a bad person.
Absolutely, yeah.
So sorry, I just had to get that out because the children of Chicago are literally getting high in the bathrooms and the hallways on pills, and a lot of them are passing away.
Yeah, we got to clean up our country, man, and it starts with inside. And I just feel like I hope we don't have like an interior war in our country fighting against these illegals, like Dennis said, because I mean, let's be honest here. 90% of the people that's coming into our country are military-aged men. These aren't women and children coming to our country. They're military-aged men, and they're here bringing drugs and crime, like you said, like fentanyl. And we got to remember that Mexico basically is the number one buyer from China when it comes from fentanyl, because we all know fentanyl comes from China. I don't want to get your channel banned or nothing like that, but that's where the fentanyl comes from, and Mexico being their number one buyer, all they have to do is put it right through the southern border. And now that Joe Biden has the border wide open, it makes their jobs more easier. It basically makes it a business. Like the southern border is the final checkpoint for these kids being trafficked. Ted Cruz already said this in the Senate building. I'm pretty sure you guys are familiar with Ted Cruz, but he said that there are colored wristbands that basically color code how much these people owe the cartel, and they use a different color coding system with women, and we all know why they do that. So it's just sick what's going on at the border, and how Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, how they're trying to claim now that the border czar, like you guys know that J.D. Pritzker basically tried to say that the border czar isn't an official position in the government, correct? So he's basically trying to treat this like a joke. You know what I'm saying? And the people of Chicago, first of all, and the people of America, we really don't appreciate that. So you're basically you don't want help here. And that's why people just have eyebrows raised, like, do you want the help or not? Even Tom Homan himself is questioning, like, do you guys want the help or not? Because we do have to go through J.B. Pritzker and Brandon Johnson, like, whether we like it or not.
Well, now JB said that he wants to help with the deportations as well for the criminals. Why do you think he changed his mind?
I don't think he changed his mind. He's facing, if that's the case, here's the deal. 35 days before January 20th. Remember this, 35 days. They talking tough now. I don't trust Pritzker no more if I could pick him up and throw him in. That's a lot of weight for me to pick him up and throw him around. I don't trust J.B. Pritzker. He's such a liar. I'd rather listen to what a snake would tell me what to do than J.B. Pritzker. He's hiding these illegals, just like Brandon Johnson are hiding these illegals.
Where did they go?
They used to be on the shelter. They was over there at the shelter. It was a crowd of illegals.
He's hiding them.
He's
and
hiding him, just like
warned him not to do that.
And
Tom Homan warned him not to do that.
Like I say, now, so that's what happened. They hiding these illegals, so they're gonna sacrifice a few versus the many. Ralph Hand. That's what he want to do. So when all this is over with, they're gonna come back out and do some more shenanigans. I know what some of the illegal are at. 78,
I
70.
I just want you guys' input on one more thing.
What's
now,
that?
You mentioned that Kamala might be running for governor in California. I just want to ask you both something. Are they smoking crack?
No, we encourage them. We encourage her to go run for governor for California. That means,
but we all know this is a terrible idea, right?
No, that's a great idea, because then if it didn't work against Trump,
it's good for us.
But if it not going to work, if it didn't work against Trump, we know that a Republican governor would take California.
Correct. So we want her to do it.
You guys think that can happen?
Absolutely.
She could run, but she's not going to win.
Yeah, Kamala's not going to win for sure.
Yeah.
But, she might be outshined by another Democratic someone who's running, right?
It's just like you put two scorpions in a martini glass. Watch what will happen.
Yeah, that's correct. But all right, guys, because I know you guys got more calls.
Yes.
Head out, but I'm still gonna be watching on YouTube, guys. Make sure you guys subscribe to Intellectual Radio with Black Excellence Hour, guys. I would really appreciate that.
Thank you for the love. Thank you for the love. See you in a little while.
Mm-hmm. Yep. You guys have a good.
You too. 773-345-9977. Let's take another call. Welcome to Black Excellence Hour.
Well, recall Brandon.
Recall Brandon.
That's right. How you doing?
Pretty good. How you doing?
Good. Got home early from my dinner, so I thought I'd call in before your show ends. What's your take on the drones? Do you think it's our government doing something, or do you think it's something else?
I think that it is I think it's the government. So I didn't want to go deep into my war talk today, because I typically do a war segment. I think that we have some enemy submarines off of our coastlines, because now they're reporting that these drones are being seen in Southern California as well. I think that the submarines are there and that the drones are looking for evidence of submarines. My personal opinion.
Oh.
What do you think?
So you think our government is just doing that for surveillance purposes?
I think so. Well, I don't think that they would just allow. Well, they did allow the weather balloon, so that's a good point. This could be something else. It could be the Houthis, right? We know that they're really good with drones and stuff, but I don't know. The better part of me wants to believe that this is our government. However, the Pentagon did a press conference today, and they said that these are unearthly objects. So they're saying that they don't belong to the government and they don't come from the planet Earth. So maybe we're at the alien invasion part of the story.
Well, at this point, I don't trust anything the federal government says.
What do you think they're doing? Why do you think they're doing this?
Well, it's a good question. If it was up to me, man, if I was like a sheriff in the local jurisdiction someplace, I'd take a high-powered rifle and shoot them down and try to look at them and see what they have.
They said one crash and then the government like swarmed to pick it up really quickly. So I don't know, but apparently they're coming out of the water. So I have no idea what this is about, but the better part of me just wants to believe that this is the U.S. government trying to keep us safe because the borders are open and we don't know who's come across the border and we're in the middle of World War III. But this could also be the Democrats trying to keep up some confusion before the inauguration. So who knows?
Yeah.
And it's very
well. I tell you, it's interesting. All these things they're doing, they're selling all these the discarded border fencing material and things and trying to auction it off. It's like they're taking a big dump before they leave.
That's their whole plan right now because the Democrats know that they're going to lose the seats or they lost the seat. If the question is how much damage they're going to do within 35 days.
Yeah. Well, it's good speculation. I don't know. It's just incredible. They're pardoning all these people. Of course, Biden's not doing any of this. His controllers are doing all this.
So
I just hope they don't do anything to provoke a World War III crisis more than what they're doing already.
I think that we are really deeply rooted in World War III at this very moment, and the drones and everything that we're seeing, it's all a part of that.
Well, if it was up to me, like I said, I'd shoot him down. Get an AK, get a little AR-15 with a scope on it, and clip, shoot off one of the arms so it can't fly, and capture it and see what kind of evidence they can gather.
Well, let's hope that we never see them in Illinois. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you. It's a good show.
We are at the end of the show. I'm getting the wrap-up signal, and that means it is time for us to get off the air because there are some other people who are ready to come and talk to the world here at Intellectual Radio. Be sure to follow Intellectual Radio on YouTube and check out some of the other broadcasters. The music is playing, and that means that we are at the end of the show. And once again, I thank you for coming here at Black Excellence Hour, a show for people with high self-esteem. Remember, friends, call ICE 866-DHS2-ICE. Let's get Tom Holman, the nice cue, ready to come and get to work. We have to save ourselves. Defund the illegals. That is the new word. No more property taxes. They got rid of property taxes, and we'll give the last word to Dennis.
To all the illegal, enjoy your Christmas. It's going to be your last one here in the United States.
And with that, we love y'all. See y'all later. Shout out to the good people at Fox News Chicago. Red to the world blow up because we winning, y'all. Victory is here. Mwah. See you in a little while. Ciao.
If your dad is still alive, I would not give up on this opportunity.